Hello, people. Welcome to the Lee Cole 3 podcast with James Proctor. I guess I can almost be calling you my partner, James Proctor, huh?
Yeah, we're doing quite a few shows together, aren't we?
Yeah, well, you do a lot of research, and
Yeah.
we've done a lot of research on Dominic Cicale, didn't we? Haven't we?
Yep.
I feel like
Sounds
I know him. I could talk to him. I could tell him what kind of food he likes. Uh, but before we get on about Dominic Cicale, let me ask you a question.
yeah.
Do you think Dominic Cicale is a badass?
Yeah, I mean, he was, definitely, he was a badass on the street. He's, tough guy, real gangster. The only problem that I have with him is, him flipping, but also, I still have a few questions left on, where he's refusing to admit, some of the things that we talked about last time.
It's
You
the
know,
things that he's done afterwards, like
yeah,
trying to extort money from the family
yeah,
of Vinny Gorgeous, and then there's some
right.
other stuff. And we're going to talk about the murder that he committed in Florida, because
hmm
we actually got the articles and stuff to talk about that murder.
Yep.
But the reality is this: the man has some stories. I'm not going to say he doesn't, because we get a lot of phony people that come in here with these stories and pretend or something. They're
Yep.
not. This
hmm
guy does not have to lie about stuff that he's not. He's been around a lot of powerful people, and he's going to do well on YouTube because he has stories that, unlike people like A-Light and Gene, his stories are much different. His stories are real deal, dealing with hardcore guys. And I think,
Right.
I don't like coming here and saying this about him, but I'm not going to lie,
Right.
because when you research somebody and you see what they're about, the reality is he was a bad dude.
Well, and the thing that I'd like to do. So you did a video earlier about Gene Borello, and so when you compare Gene with Dominic Cicale, it's no comparison. It's totally. When I see Dominic, he definitely an intelligent guy. Very shrewd is a word I'd say.
Well, let me ask you a question. This guy right here, Michael Cusco, is that how you say it?
Michael
Mancuso?
Mancuso. Uh-huh.
Cuso. Okay. So that guy right there, he's the head of a certain family right now. They're saying, I'm not going to say who, but I read a letter where he's attacking Dominic Cicale and calling him stupid and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't see Dominic Cicale as stupid at all.
No, I don't either.
These two guys don't like each other because uh, the reality is that Dominic wanted to kill this guy who's now the
Yeah.
boss of his family.
Right.
And that's a whole, I like this because, usually when you start tearing these guys apart, these guys that claim they're gangsters and stuff,
hmm
this guy, when you tear him apart, it's like, I mean, he's got stuff there, and
Yeah.
it's probably what we're scraping is just the tip of the iceberg with this guy. Would you say that?
Yeah. Most definitely. And so, he's definitely got some stories to, talk about. And, I was surprised that even though he wasn't in the life per se as a made man, but a few years, he definitely had a long life before
Yeah,
getting paid.
and that's the thing. He dealt with the
Yeah.
Genovese family before he
hmm
even went into the Bonanno family.
Right.
He was, and then when he went to prison, he became good friends with Bruno
Yeah.
Indelcato. Okay.
Yeah.
And Bruno, as you know, his father's one of the captains killed, and Bruno is the
Yeah.
one that pushed him onto Vinny Gorgeous.
Yeah.
He gave, they did time. He liked them. But when he went to Vinny Gorgeous, there was some question marks about him because he had
Right.
some stuff going down in Florida, and we're going to talk about that. And one
Right.
of them is a murder, and we're going to talk about the murder. But this guy right now, he's a Florida guy.
Hmm.
And, you know, he may be from the Bronx, but he's a Florida guy. He's a businessman, has businesses. And
Yeah.
didn't he have a business with an associate that just passed away?
Yeah. So, looking at what he was doing, he had started a business and had a guy named Michael Visconti, which was an associate of the Genovese family. And so they went in business together. And, he died from natural causes. So, I mean, there was nothing
He
weird
was kind of
about his,
young though, right?
yeah, 54, I believe. And so,
So I'm at the age where I want to call him young because I'm older
yeah,
than him, and you're
yeah.
just about his age
Yeah,
almost.
yeah,
So you want
I'm
to call him young too.
52,
He wasn't a
so
young guy.
yeah, I mean, it definitely died young, but Michael himself was was definitely a tough dude, and but he was responsible for the basically he ratted or basically became an informant and was on the trial that led to the conviction of Angelo Prisco, who
And
was,
that and
yeah.
okay, and we're talking about his partner, the Genovese. What's his name again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, Michael Visconti. So he's the
Okay, so
one
Michael
that, yeah,
Visconti, he's partners. He put away Angelo Prisco, right? Well, he was one
yes,
of the guys that testified against
right,
Angelo Prisco, who died
yeah,
in prison. Is that correct?
right, right. And Prisco was a capo in the Genovese family. He spent most of his time in the Bronx and also in Jersey, running things. But he's definitely an old school guy. Was very well respected on the street.
Yeah, and okay, so it's amazing. Down in Florida, there's a lot of informants. My blue heaven, we call it, and
Hmm.
they're all down there. And but the difference is that this guy, I don't consider him like these other guys, a light, because this guy comes off to me much more serious
Right, definitely
than
is.
these other guys that are out here on the internet. Uh,
Right,
and I'm going to say this, and it's the way I feel, but you don't have many guys that come on here that actually have a legitimate story. I mean, this guy
right,
sounds like he was much tougher than Sammy Gravano.
yeah,
Gravano may have been higher ranked,
yeah.
but this guy sounds like he was much tougher than Gravano.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, most definitely. He actually would do the deed. He wasn't necessarily just the organizer of it. So he did everything as well. So definitely a tough guy that you wouldn't want to cross on the street.
and we're going to get into this murder now, and we're going to talk about the sentencing and the actual murder. But I'm
Yeah.
going to pop this up here, right here. I'm going to add this to the stream.
Hmm.
Okay, and this is from 1989. And I'm just going to, Artelis Hunt leads police to the killer of Pompano. How do you say that? You're a Florida man.
Pompano. Yeah,
Pompano. Okay, correct me
Pompano
when I
man.
say it
Yeah.
wrong. Pompano.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the first clues found were in the trash bin in Fort Lauderdale: a 25 caliber handgun, bloody sheets, towels, scrub brush, cleansers used to wipe the scene of the crime. Next, detectives found a crime scene: a bloody overturned mattress, a trail of blood that led to the catwalk of room 708 of the Sandy Shore Motel in Fort Lauderdale by the sea. It took 6 weeks to find the victim's body in a canal west of Boca Raton. Boca Raton.
Yeah, Boca Raton.
Why am I
Uh-huh.
having trouble? Don't get old, dude.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry, you're almost old. He was wrapped in towel sheets and a shower curtain. His legs were tied with rope, and he had been shot twice. At the time, police detectives did not know who he was. It was not only a whodunit, but it was said Lauderdale by the Sea Police Chief Joe Fitzgerald. The mystery concluded on Monday, 7 months after George Keogh, 25, was shot and dragged from a two-story motel. Dominick Cicale, 22, he's a young guy here. He's
Hmm.
just formerly a
Pompano Beach. Yeah.
Pompano Beach. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Uh, pleaded guilty before Broward Circuit Judge J. Leonard Fleet in exchange for being charged, reduced from first-degree murder to manslaughter. He faces 12 years in prison when he is sentenced next month. Ernie Corralazzo, 47, and Vinny Foresta, 40,
Yeah.
both of
Foresta.
the Bronx, were charged with being accessories to the fact. Both are in jail in New York. And I just want to say one thing. Ernie Corralazzo, serious guy. A matter of fact, if I got this right, Frank Matthews was a drug dealer, big drug dealer. He disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yep.
He was on his way to the courthouse, but he was feuding with this guy, Ernie Corralazzo. I'm gonna call him Ernie
C. Yeah.
Okay, so he was feuding with this guy.
Yep.
And they said, and this is what Frank Panessa, a DEA agent, said, that that feud cost Matthews his life when he disappeared. That was his opinion. And the Genovese family decided to take him out because they were afraid that he was going to flip anyway, and it was going to affect them. And this guy may have even been involved with the disappearance of Matthews. And there's a lot of people say he's alive, he's dead.
Right.
But Frank Panessa, who was on my show about a year ago, 8 months ago, I interviewed him. Yeah. Real thing. And if he says that he believes he's dead, I'm going to go along, that Matthews was killed that way. I'm going to go along with that.
Yeah. You could call him Coco as well. That was Ernie's nickname.
Yeah, it was Coco. So that's exactly.
If that's the same guy, that's who I think it's the same guy actually.
Okay, you're just trying to make it easy for me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So these two guys are with him, right? Sergeant Phil Annabelle, the Broward Sheriff's Homicide Unit, had to work the case backwards. Many were surprised when the pieces and players were finally found, he said. To solve the case, it took the work of 7 police agencies from Broward, Palm Beach counties, New York, and Canada. They covered their tracks very, very well, Amabel said. Fortunately for us, they weren't as clever as they thought they were. The mystery began 7 a.m. on August 6th. An employee of Fountain Truck Equipment Company in Fort Lauderdale tossed something into the trash bin. He saw a gun in the bin and called police. Police officer Terry Heinstein searched the garbage. I knew there had to be more to it. I started going through the garbage and came up with bloody sheets and a bedspread. I was saying to myself, there's got to be a body somewhere. She found in the bin a postcard and the picture of the Sandy Shores Villa, a motel, and the address and everything. Einstein called Fitzgerald and they went back to the motel. A maid said the bedspread, sheets, and towels were missing from room 708. Fitzgerald and a detective checked the room. The room was in perfect order, but he lifted up the mattress on the single bed and found blood on the mattress and the box spring. We noticed the moisture on the carpet as though somebody had cleaned there. He said they also found bloody drag marks on the catwalk, indicating someone had lifted a body after pulling it several feet. Fitzgerald called the sheriff's office and talked to Amabel. Once he saw the motel room, Amabel was convinced someone had been killed. Amabel learned that the room had been registered to Michael Schiffin of the Bronx. A second man had stayed there, and motel employees did not know his name. Schiffin returned to New York on August 4th before the homicide. The Sandy Shoes keeps handwritten copies of all messages to and from the room. Amabel got those. Cicale and Corralazzo had called or were called. Amabel got those phone numbers. He had a place to start. He also talked to 2 guests at the motel, a couple from Oshawa, Ontario. They described the men staying in 708 as seen him in a white Cadillac. The man driving was driving a white Cadillac, and there were 2 other men in the back. The 2 in the back seat had lots of tattoos. On August 25th, the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms reported that the gun found in the trash bin was registered to George Keogh of Pompano Beach. Amabel went to the condominium where Cohill lived and talked to an FBI agent who was a neighbor of Cohey. And the agent said that he had not seen Cohey since August 4th. Cohey's father, a retired police lieutenant from Oakland, New Jersey, had reported his son missing to Pompano Beach. Amabel talked to Keogh's girlfriend. She told of the robbery. There was a robbery of March 1988 that Keogh suspected a friend and neighbor orchestrated. The 2 robbers broke into Keogh's home, demanded drugs, Amabel said. They got 2 ounces of cocaine. The neighbor's name was Dominic Cicale. Slowly, Amabel gathered the names and backgrounds of everyone who had been in room 708 that night. The night Keogh was killed. Cicale, Kehoe, Carolazzo, and Forrester. Keogh had gone out that night and returned to the motel room, Amabel said. He was intoxicated and told Carolazzo he wanted revenge against Cicale for the robbery. Cicale walked into the room. Keogh had a gun. Carolazzo got the gun away from him, and Keogh bolted toward the door, Amabel said. Cicale pulled his own gun and shot him twice, killing Keogh. Carolazzo organized the cleanup of the room, sending one man out to get paper towels and cleaning liquid, Amabel said. Then they put Keogh in the trunk of the rented Cadillac and drove him to Palm Beach County. It was a challenging and frustrating case, Amabel said. There were a lot of sleepless nights over it. Okay, so that's the first story on this. What do you think about what I read so far?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like it was some sort of drug deal went bad. So,
well, they robbed this guy Keogh.
mm-hmm.
Keogh wanted revenge.
Okay.
And so he's in the room, and these three guys come in the room,
mm-hmm.
and one of the guys wrestles a gun away from him. And then Cicale shot him and killed him.
Yeah.
That's where they got the self-defense from. But
I see.
But there was a detective that did investigated it and said it was two shots behind in the back of the head.
Yeah.
So he called it an execution.
Okay, I see where they got that from, because I'd read a different article to add where they say it was an execution style. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I got that article. That's what we're going to do right now.
Yep.
You got to remember, this first article I read is right when it happened. This next article is after sentencing.
Yep.
Okay, let me see. Okay, here we go. I hate all these advertisements on this garbage.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, let me see. Okay, so when he's going to be sentenced, and this is what the article says, you can kill a man in Florida and be back on the street in less than a year and a half, but woe unto anyone who tries to sell a half ounce of cocaine to an undercover federal agent. Consider the case of Dominic Cicale, 23 now. In 1988, the Hallandale man pumped 2 bullets into the associate during a drug deal going bad in Pompano Beach. He was arrested by Broward County deputies and charged with first-degree murder. Later, he agreed to plead guilty to manslaughter. Cicale was sentenced to 7 years in state prison, but as a result of gain time and other provisional credits awarded because of Florida's crowded prisons, Cicale was released in October, serving 17 months. Can you imagine that this guy put 2 bullets in a man's head and he served 17 months?
Yeah, wow.
He was placed on 3 months probation.
Yeah, wow.
What the hell's
I've
going on
never heard
here?
of 3 months probation except for
shooting someone in the back of the head, you know? Then on December 21st, while he was on probation, he sold a half an ounce of cocaine to an undercover DEA agent in Hollywood shopping mall. The seal was an icebreaker, established trust for a 2-kilogram cocaine deal he promised in the future. Instead, it became the basis of a federal drug charge that could land Cicale in prison for 7 to 8 years. So he's going to go to prison longer for dealing a small bag of dope than shooting a man in the head twice. And this is what the police are saying here. They're kind of pissed about it. If sentenced to 7 years, he would serve the full 7 years. Cicale's case is only the most recent example of sharp disparities between sentencing in Florida state prisons versus terms of comparable crimes in the federal prisons. But I'm going to go down here a little bit because I already did a lot of reading. I don't want to do no more. But this is what Assistant U.S. Attorney characterized Cicale's involvement in the 1988 Pompano killing as an execution-style murder.
Wow.
And so when it came up, they had this thing. They were trying to get people out of prison early because the prisons were crowded back then.
Yeah.
So it's up to it's up to certain people who to let out. So they decided the guy that was involved with shooting a man twice in the head should be let out after what, a year and a half.
17 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and what was interesting though was that you had, so when you go into prison, so it was 7 years for the murder, and then as soon as you go in, they knock 1/3 of it off. It's a state charge, so they
Right.
knock 1/3 of the sentence off immediately, and then he got another year removed because he took classes. Plus, he had a prison job, so that was able to remove a
But he
year, and
lost the
then
majority of the sentence based on
yeah,
the crowding of the prisons.
yeah,
But
yeah. There
it
was a
was up to the
3 year.
prison
Yeah,
whether they
right.
release him, and up to certain people whether they release him. And they
Yeah,
found him very odd that the prisons decided to release him.
yeah. Some
Uh,
sort of program they had, and they were saying that he normally wouldn't have been allowed to do it, but since it was manslaughter instead of a homicide, instead of murder, he was allowed to be in this program where depending on the administration of the prison, they said they could knock off another 3 years, and that's what they did.
Okay, and here's the thing. Here's what gets me. This is the U.S. attorney saying that Cicale's involvement in the 1988 Pompano Beach killing was execution style murder,
Yeah,
even though other people are saying that he shot the guy running out the door.
right,
This is the state attorney saying no, it was an execution murder.
right.
And hopefully, in the federal system, he would do some time. Did he wind up doing much time for that charge?
Well, on the drug charge, he did. He did the 7 or 8 years. That he did have that, and he was in jail until 1999
And
on
that worked
that.
out for him because in prison he met Bruno in the Cotto,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Bruno is the one.
exactly.
Okay, so this guy has like well, let me read this to you.
Yeah,
Cicale, who was married 2 weeks ago, this is when he was busted, was
yeah,
arrested on Wednesday by DEA agents after they tracked him down through his marriage certificate. The agents who arrested him said he had two large tattoos on his upper arms. One is the Grim Reaper, a hooded skeleton with a sickle. The other is a Mac 10 machine gun pistol with an accompanying caption, "Who's next?"
yeah.
See,
Wow.
this guy's tattoos compared to Gene Barillo's tattoos actually mean something.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I was thinking about. Totally
I
different.
mean, sickles, Mac 10 machine gun, and who's next? I mean, can you imagine what this guy's done that nobody knows what he's done?
Oh my gosh.
You
Yeah.
don't just kill people and execute them and shoot them in the back of the head, la di da da, learn how to, and then they got rid of the body, and the two guys that were with him just happened to be, one was in the Genovese and the other one was in another crime family.
Yep.
So these were real guys in that motel room that night,
Right.
that morning when they killed this guy.
Yeah.
And they did whatever they could to cover the murder up, but they didn't.
Hmm.
And so when you think about it, what do you think about all these things happening to this guy? And he winds up doing, between the drug charge and the murder, 8.5 years.
Yeah. I mean, it just sounds like he,
Something's very
he,
fishy.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And, I know in the video or the interview he did the other day with another content creator, he was saying that he was
Oh, wait a
set
minute.
up.
He did no. Let's. Okay, if we're going to talk about the guy, he did a show with Jeff Nadeau. Let's just say that, because Jeff
Yeah.
Nadeau did the show,
Yeah.
and just explain exactly what Jeff Nadeau asked him and what he said.
Yeah. So what happened is that he asked him about his previous charge, and how when he had went to become associated with Vinny, that there was questions. Was Dominic Cicale, a rat? Had he, there were some questions about if he was an informant or not. And so Vinny said, was able to talk to him, and believed Dominic. But what happened is that when he was talking about it, they were referring to the drug case that the DEA, the one that we just talked about. Dominic Cicale feels that he was set up on that case, that he did nothing wrong.
Yeah. So I guess the man did nothing wrong anywhere. I mean, it's obvious what he is. He's a killer.
Yeah.
He's gotten an opportunity that Vinny Gorgeous will not get. And
Right.
Vinny Gorgeous was a pretty brutal man, but I have a funny feeling that this man was just as brutal, if not more brutal.
Right.
And on top of that, you got to remember, Dominic Cicale, not only he was made and then became captain within a year and a half, which is unheard of.
Right.
And then Vinny Gorgeous goes into prison, and he trusts this guy to run the street. And this is where he has this feud with Mancuso.
Yeah, right, with Mancuso. Yep.
So it's all very interesting stuff. It's going to be interesting to listen to his stories, and we have other stuff, but we're not going to talk about it right now. And we're going to see where he goes with his stories. And we've covered this the best we can. We understand that people here do not like people. There's some people that will say, well, they ratted or this or that.
Right.
Okay. The guy definitely is an informant. He definitely did bad stuff he put away a man in prison and then tried to set him up for a hit. And it turned, and we seen the documents on that. All those documents are out now. He tried to set Vinny Gorgeous up on that while he was in prison, after he put him in prison. And then he tried to extort money from the children of Vinny Gorgeous. And we've seen the documentation on that, but he'll say it's a lie.
Right. So he denied those two items, and then he was saying that he got set up on the drug charge that put him away for 7 or 8 years. So
I wonder if he got set up on the 2 bullets behind the guy's head.
I
know. You got three mobsters in there and 1 dummy with a gun. You basically got Ernest Carrazzo, whatever Coco. Let's call him Coco. He's in the room. And then he's in the room with the other guy who's a badass. And I know that because I read up some stuff on him. I'm just not going to talk about him too much because I'm not too sure. I don't want to say he did things, but if it's the guy that I think it is that was with him, he was a bad. So you had 3 guys that were bad guys in that room.
Yeah, right.
And 1 guy playing drug dealer whose father happened to be a cop. And he wants to deal with these guys. Bad move.
Yeah.
He had no idea who he was dealing with. That's what I believe.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. And so, I mean, I'm glad that you're able to find the other article. I only was able to find the article, the second one, the one from the Sun Sentinel. And so I'm glad that you were able to find the context, behind what happened, because I didn't know that story.
That's what I was wondering, because, it's, and it took 10 months for them to solve it, even after they found the body. I mean, they still had to solve it. And, the woman telling the story doesn't mean that's the way the story actually was, but that story got him a manslaughter charge. Yeah.
And the thing about the drugs, one thing I wanted to mention about South Florida in the 90s is that I do know for a fact that, Broward County, Miami-Dade County, the local police, they were very corrupt back then, and they would basically set people up, but the DEA, I don't see them doing that, maybe, but it's just weird that you have all these instances in Dominic Cicale's life that it didn't happen. People made it up, or it was a setup. So, it's hard for me to believe that. If it said it was Broward County that arrested him, then I would say, yes, that was probably a setup. But the DEA, I don't see that. People might argue that, but, it's just weird to me that, various times that, it just didn't happen, or someone was trying to frame him. So.
And this guy, and to be fair to Cicale also, so he's had businesses, all sorts of businesses down there.
Yeah.
And he is hustling. and he has an active business going right now. So it's not hard to find that stuff out. That stuff's easy to find out, especially with you, James.
Yeah, yeah. Well, part of it when he got out of prison, though, I mean, he got a little bit of money, I believe, from the government or may relocate or whatever, but not too much. And then I know that he went through a bankruptcy. There's those records, him and his wife, but it was about that time that where he tried to extort or scam, the kids of Vinny. So, it would make sense if he was doing it because he probably needed money. But, he's definitely hustling. He's definitely, they're legitimate businesses. He's not nothing that I know of illegal. But, the guy,
Yeah, well, that we
he
know of.
reminds me of Vinny in a lot of
This
ways.
guy reminds me of the type of guy this is who he is, and he's going to stay that his whole life, and that's that. And I like to say this to Dominic Cicale: if you underestimate people to be trolls, Dominic, that could be a mistake. This show's been here a year and a half, and I've James, did I have my criminal record pulled up on here from A to Z?
Yeah, you did.
Did I have my mug shots put up here from A to Z?
Yeah.
My 6 mug shots. They ran my whole record. Well, most of it. And
they even confused with a black guy out of Central Texas, I believe, didn't they?
Yeah. They tried to say I was some black guy from Texas, and they put my name. His name was Cleveland Lee Cole. And then they put it up and said, "Oh, this is Lee Cole also." And then I showed, no, I got a picture of him. No, this is Lee Cole. He's a black guy. That's not me.
Yeah, I think the guy broke some woman's glasses or something in a car.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
And it's funny because when I showed him it was a lie, the jerk kept on doing it. But that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I don't need extra crimes to make my other crimes go away. I have plenty of crimes. You don't have to. I don't pretend to be a good guy here.
Yeah,
I am now, but it was a time I wasn't.
Yep.
And with that, I just like to say to Mr. Cicale is, you're going to hear everything about me, Dominic, and 90% of it will be false, and then 10% of it will be true. But if you come on here with your name, if you come on here making statements that aren't true, you're going to be called out on them, and it doesn't matter who you are. My hat's crooked. My Yankee. I can never have a crooked Yankee cap. No matter what you do here, and James, I'm surprised they haven't talked about you yet.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I mean, I don't have a record,
So you're not on here saying that you have a record.
No, I wasn't a gangster.
You got some people on here that be talking all this stuff, and then they find everything out about them, and there's not even one crime.
Right.
It's like they're out here talking a bunch of like, yeah, I did this, and then you look for them, and it's just like, where's your crime?
Yeah, I just don't think it's worth starting off and saying these lies that aren't true. Talking about saying, "Oh, if I was a gangster," and it's not true. When people do that, especially today, people find out.
He's an informant. He has to expect to be called out on.
Yeah,
that's just how it is. You're on YouTube. Yeah. You're an informant. You come on here, and but you know what, Mr. Cicale, we're going to give you. We're here. We're not saying that you're a fraud or a fake when it comes to being a gangster. We're not saying that. We're separating you from those other guys.
Right.
Would you say that? You're not Barillo. You're not A-Light. You're nothing like those guys. But you're full of shit on a few things, though.
Yeah.
And why you were so vicious to Vinny Gorgeous, who considered you like a brother. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
And, we're done with Dominic right for now, but who knows what comes up.
Yeah.
And in his shows, I'm sure he's going to be successful.
Yeah.
Very successful because he does have a real story.
Yeah.
But he's still an informant. James, what would you like to say about what we talked about?
Just one thing was that, we just thought that, people would find it interesting, what happened. Everyone had heard that he was involved in a murder, and, he only served 17 months. So, we thought it'd be a good story to, put out there, and just, it's all the truth and the facts. So we just thought everyone would find it interesting.
Hey, maybe he just had a hell of a lawyer, the best lawyer in the history of the world.
Yeah, maybe
That,
so.
people, please hit the like button if you like this. If you have not subscribed, 50% of the people that watch this show are not subscribed. So we would love for you to sub this, because we're on our way to 10,000. Please help us get there. And this is the part that I got to say, no matter what, if you want to donate to this channel, there's my Cash App, there's my PayPal, or you can hit a little heart underneath here and donate that way. If not, no big deal. But I'll leave that running for a minute. What else? So we got some interesting interviews coming up, don't we, James?
Yeah. There's a couple of things in the works, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. I don't know. Do you want to talk about it or?
Well, we're going to be talking about the Jersey mob.
Yep.
And we're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about. I got another guest on. I've already had him on a couple of times, and he's going to be coming on, and we're going to be discussing some war within one of the families.
Yeah.
And then we have some interviews lined up besides that. And what we're trying to do is get into more interviews, and besides the stories that we put up right here. Okay. But I'd like to thank you once again, James. I appreciate your help.
Sure.
And for the people that when I was reading, if I drove you crazy, I'm sorry, but I had to get that out there. Did the reading bother you, James?
No, I don't. Doesn't bother me.
Okay. It's just a very interesting story about poor Mr. Kehoe, who is dead. But if you're going to play the game, you want to play drug dealer, and you're going to be dealing with 3 gangsters, got to know who you're dealing with before you go in the motel room with them.
Yep.
And back then, a lot of people were being shot in motel rooms down in Florida.
Oh yeah, it was awful down there. That was so much, especially cocaine coming in from South America and everything. It was a lot of crime down there.
You would figure Mr. Kehoe he probably seen the movie where Al Pacino was in the room down there, and
right.
The motel room. What was the name of that movie again? Scarface.
Yeah.
That shootout in the motel room. So if you're going to deal drugs in Florida, stay the hell out of motel rooms.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, my man, let me end this. Everybody take care. Like I said, please sub and like. If you want to donate. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this.